one that is beyond number. Number is a concept invented within the one. Number is a presentation of the one. The one is beyond number. Where the one is, there can be no number. And you're part of that one. Come back to that one. Remember yourself. Remember the self within which all the concepts and the ideas and the numbers and the countings were taking place. Everything that's true in perception resides somewhere within the biology. And so whenever we are maintaining a concept, we're also activating the behaviors within the organs. To come back to the one, is to bring the attention to the place from where they all receive sustenance. And to bring from that place more sustenance to every cell, to every organ, to every intelligence, so that it can be more of itself. That's all we can ever ask of it. All we can ever do is be more of ourselves or less of ourselves. There's no real other scale. There's nothing else that we can bring to the table. And so when the one becomes aware of himself, he brings more of himself to reality. When the one identifies as the concepts that he perceives, then he becomes less of himself. He loses all the other potentials. So return to the one. Remember the one. When you remember the one, you wake up the one. Everything you do wakes up. Everything in the physical directs the spiritual. And in turn, the spiritual manifests as the physical. So this is a constant cycle. The spiritual is represented within us in the world of thought, and the physical is represented within us as the feelings and sensations that we perceive within our body. And so to return to the one is to unite the heavens and the earth, to unite the spiritual and the physical, to unite the source that became and everything that he became. It's to remember something that was always real. It's alive within us. It's the pathway through which we receive existence and perception. And yet, we lost access to it. And when we unite, we regain our access. Reality becomes real again. The world of thought can find a home in the world of matter. The one that is beyond number, is the same in all. He is the reason for all. He is the purpose of all. He is the nature of all. You are that nature. You're part of Him. You're part of it. It's part of you. And so, because we imagine the world as divided, as if there are different entities that own different portions of the world, we go into a world of separation where we imagine ourselves separate. And when we imagine ourselves separate, our biology starts to lose energy. We can no longer create and feel secure because it feels like it needs to fight for its survival. And so to return to the unity is to remember our connection to everything that is. We are a result of everything there is. We are something that grew out of everything that is, because of so many factors that we cannot even count. So in that sense, we represent everything that is. We don't represent a personal interest. We cannot have a personal interest. A personal interest is something our mind created out of nothing, because that person that's personalizing doesn't really exist. It's an illusion. Because air is transparent, and because we didn't observe the relationship that we have with the environment, we might assume that a human being is a separate entity, an individual entity that interacts with reality on its own. But that's not the truth. That's not the case. That's an illusion. The reality is that a human being is a combination of so many forces, which means so many things are affecting it that nobody besides the Creator can understand. If we focus on different details, we can try to understand the cause and effect and the relationships. But to understand the organism, nobody has understood the organism. So there's no person, there's no individual interest. There's only the collective interest in every individual, whether that individual is aware of it or not. To the extent the individual is fighting for a personal interest, they're making life more difficult than it needs to be. Life will be extremely disappointing for anybody who is looking to realize a personal interest in this experience. This experience was not designed for realizing personal interests, because there are no persons. There are no separate individuals. There are no interests that any individual can have that is not somehow rooted in the collective will. And so this is a misunderstanding of who we are that results in fragmented thought, and thoughts that do not align with the unity. In such an environment, everyone fails. Because even if they succeed in having the possessions, they cannot have the spiritual satisfaction, they cannot have the relationships, they cannot have the community. And so they're not getting the experience, even if they seem to have what they're chasing after. They don't know what they're missing, but they're missing the main point. So the reality of the unity is beyond any of the perceptions that our mind can come up with. Everything our mind comes up with is coming from the unity, trying to interpret reality. And every attempt is based on the purity of the one who is attempting, not the essence. The essence is always pure, but the lens of perception. How pure is the lens of perception of the one who is attempting to see the power that makes us, the unity that is, the unity that no one can avoid or escape, except in the world of illusion. So, wisdom comes to wake up humanity from their illusions. Illusions that cause tremendous damage to the biology. But when humanity doesn't understand the spiritual, they don't understand the inner workings, the more subtle side of biology. The side that decides how you feel and how you think. The spiritual side. The side that resides in spirit. The side that resides in the oxygen that you breathe. And so on this spiritual side are all the settings of how you're going to run the organism. And that's going to result in the experience, the interaction, the manifestation, the interpretation of everything that's taking place in you. So returning to the unity means returning to reality. Reality was always this way. Wisdom comes to remind us, because we have created an illusion of separateness. We have been fooled by the physical eye. The physical eye makes it look like the human being is separate and autonomous. And yet, the eye of intelligence will tell us that the human being is part of a collective one. The human being is a spark of the spirit of the earth itself. And within that spark, it is perceiving all the stars, the planets, and the galaxies around the earth. Not only physically perceiving when we look up to the sky, but also spiritually perceiving when we perceive our body which is designed and directed by the forces that surround us. Just like all the other plants and animals, and all the behaviors that get directed by the cycles of the stars, day and night, the seasons, and all the rays and frequencies that get transmitted through these powerful intelligences that are visible to our physical eye. So to unite is to unite all of those, the armies of the sky, to unite all of them through the human being, so they realize the unity, so they realize how all of them were meant to interact in you. Whenever we are not the way that we are meant to be, some of the stars, some of the forces that create us are being frustrated. Some of the intelligences are being used in a way that doesn't please them. And so to unite within yourself is to unite all the forces that are active in you, that make you passable. All the different parts of you that together decide who you are. These parts are beyond you. These parts belong to the collective. These parts designed you, decided every limb, every organ, the shape, the size, the function, the location. All this before any of us were born. It's not personal. It was designed for our kind, for our species. It's who we are, it's what we are. There's no person. There's just what nature designed. Person is someone's interpretation. Individual is a wrong interpretation. There is no individual because it's the same forces. The same forces are trying to be in every single one. The individual interest is an idea. The real individual interest is to be the appropriate member of the collective, to play the perfect function in whatever their role is. And their role is designed within how they were created to be. Return to that unity, the unity that unites the individual and returns the individual so that the individual is available to unite with the collective. Until we don't return, the individual is not available. Only when we unite can we then realize our place within the collective.